It's the first time in the history of Africa that this number of kings have come together. It's done under the stewardship of our missions endeavor.
What to capture actually is when Jason and I first sit down, we'll go through a ton of that, and we'll make sure to have that prearranged so that our coming down and sitting. Quick question for you. We're talking through some of the logistics of once everyone arrives in because the Radisson is fully booked. We have our numbers, and every other room is booked out in addition.
Oh, Southern Province.
All right.
Yeah. Dan, do we need to call them again?
I don't think so.
Yeah, have you been contacting the government?
So we got 10 more days, and then everyone flies into Lusaka, which will be crazy.
E-visas have been issued to the kings. So at this point, flights are booked, hotels are booked, kings are coming. Over the course of this last 6 months in developing this event and meeting with these kings over the phone, flying to some of their locations and answering even their questions, I'm recognizing that one of the most important things that are being recalibrated during this event is the understanding of what is missions, who are missionaries, what do they represent? What's happening in that recalibration in the continent is going to serve us for the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years in how we steward the move of God throughout Africa through these key relationships.
The gospel welcomes people with a smile. And let me tell you something, every person loves relationships. They'll put their differences aside if they can look into your eyes and say, you're actually a good friend. You're actually a good person.
Having an event focused on traditional leaders is an event that becomes a key to every unreached people group on the continent. That in one fell swoop, this event, this gathering could re-identify what missions is to these leaders, and at the same time open them up to say, if that's what missions is, and if you are who missionaries are, we want you in our people. We want deep relationships. We want long-standing partnerships, and we want to give you access to communicate and represent the stewardship of the kingdom.
And we're praying and believing that the nations that have been outside of the volume, the sound of freedom, of the knowledge of Jesus Christ and his redemption would get closer to that sound, to that pure, beautiful gospel that is free and is freedom to all who hear it.
That there was a day that Jesus Christ reigned and manifested among the chiefs, the kings, and the people of Zambia.
December, January, December. So we're 2 months. Are we 2 months out from the event? November, December. It's refreshing to be able to sit on this side of the event and to say it did all of the things we believed it would do and more. One of the exciting parts of the second half of the event was that you had all of these kings and queens that just had these amazing spiritual encounters with the Lord. And then we had this 3 days of downtime to converse, and the communication from them was, it was so refreshing to not have to feel like you were on, to actually get to be in an atmosphere where you weren't the primary focus, where you were giving your focus to another who is actually named King of Kings, Jesus Christ. The conversations that I was most excited about during the event and with these kings were those conversations where we were able to sit down, kind of question, what is my life impacting? You know, is my life actually creating change? And I believe at this gathering, many of them began to recognize that spiritually, that foundation in their lives needs to be strengthened and focused on, because they're recognizing that they don't just want to travel the globe. They don't just want to be celebrated. They want to make a difference. During those 6 days we were together, we sat and talked strategy in locations that can't even really be named. And here we are now, sitting down, actually making plans to engage in these nations. Many of these countries won't allow any evangelical endeavor. So we have to now create strategy on how to enter these countries in a way that will get us a foot in the door. What does our presence in your country look like? How do we do it? And they're excitedly coming up with ideas and concepts that will allow us to engage with people that are completely and utterly blocked from a gospel representation. We are dispatching short-term reconnaissance teams. We're doing short-term expeditions. It's happening this year. So to have had the event and 2 months later already be engaging with 6 nations that we've not had any presence in up to this point, I think shows the success of the event on one level. You know, anytime you see a move of God happen, it creates opportunity. And with that opportunity, it oftentimes exposes a massive hole or a massive need. The need right now is laborers. We need boots on the ground. We need people trained and equipped to give their lives to these nations, not for a week or 2 weeks or 3 months, but for years, to see a level of saturation of gospel and kingdom, so that this move of God can happen in these other locations. And yet we're sitting down as a team of a couple hundred, already with tasks and focuses, going, who do we put onto this task? Who do we put on this focus? And at the same time, believing God that there will be an influx of men and women throughout the earth who respond to the call of God on their lives to give themselves to this opportunity. You know, we always say in missions, you get the baton for a finite amount of time, and what you do with your time sets things up for what the next generation, has the opportunity to do. And we hope that we can lay a scaffolding for the next generation to, whatever our ceiling is, it becomes their floor. And we're excited to see, what Africa looks like over the next decade, particularly through, these leaders that we had the opportunity to spend so much time with.